Hello, welcome to Screen Junkies universe where we love Doctor Who, right, Danielle Radford?
Yes, we love Doctor Who on Screen Junkies.
It's Thursday, that's how I know that Danielle's here. Reverse that, and we'll have said the right thing. Dan Murrell is here,
Hello.
Joe Starr is here, I'm Roth Cornet, and we do love Doctor Who. We do love Doctor Who. So look forward to that trailer. It's going to be coming out in October.
Thanks for diving us out, Roth. I appreciate that. That's what we get for having pre-show conversations about our private struggles in a creative endeavor.
Up next, our childhoods. We're going to be talking about Alec Baldwin today. Why so serious, Alec Baldwin? MoviePass and Watch, Rock Talk. And we have a little twist on that one and more coming right here at you. Plus, we have an interview with Chris Weitz, who is awesome, and we will talk more about that as well. Alec Baldwin, guys, joke's on us. He's out of the Joker right away, just really quickly after it was announced that he was in. This is via EW. He has dropped out of the Joker movie after Warner Brothers, again, according to EW, confirmed the casting. His casting is Thomas Wayne, the father of Batman/Bruce Wayne. Here's what he said to USA Today. Kind of in a negative tone. He said he left due to scheduling reasons, which is always like the most kind of broadly used excuse for an actor dropping out of a project or being booted off a project. It just like covers all manner of what actually happened, that and creative differences. So he said, I'm sure there are 25 guys that can play that part. Burn. And then he tweeted, sounding even more kind of annoyed. Let me state for the record that I have not been hired to play a role in Todd Phillips' Joker as some Donald Trump man-K. That is not happening, not happening. So
Lemon.
Damn it, Lemon. We have theories, and Dan's done a deeper dive, so he has a real theory. I have a speculation just based on what he said here. I feel like perhaps Alec Baldwin saw the reaction to the idea that he was going to be playing a version of Thomas Wayne that was like Trump, like almost because he played that Trump character, like we said, on SNL, and was a verse that hadn't been what he'd been pitched, and he did not want to do that, and was just like, saw even some of the response to that idea and was like, I am not doing that. That's not happening. No, thank you. That's a wild guess, but I'm not sure. Maybe it really was scheduling issues. Dan, what's your theory?
What if I told you
that
this whole thing was never officially confirmed by anyone? I went back and looked at the story because movie news is like a pyramid, and like
built by aliens.
At the top is, as you talk about, like there's people that the industry, including us, looks to for legitimacy, and at the top are people like Variety and Deadline and Hollywood Reporter, because they're the ones that get like, they're the legacy people that get the industry buzz. So I looked at those three and I looked at their stories about this casting thing, and here's what they said. It was originally reported by Deadline. They had the exclusive. There was no confirmation from anyone at Warner Brothers that he had taken the role. It literally said, while no one at Warner Brothers has confirmed that this is happening, we hear that this is happening. And then the whole Trump thing, they said, no, there's no confirmation that he had taken the role. And the buzz, it says the buzz is that he is playing Thomas Wayne. So it was basically, the original report from Deadline said, Alec Baldwin is in, while we have no official confirmation, Alec Baldwin is in the Joker movie, and the buzz is that he's playing Thomas Wayne. Okay, so then that's the one that gets picked up by everybody else. Variety cited the Deadline story, and then Hollywood Reporter is the one that introduced the Trump thing. And all it said was, our sources say that it's a role that's like Donald Trump. Again, none of these stories cited a person at the studio.
But again, they wouldn't, right? Because when people are talking to you, they don't want you to use their name. That is how journalism works. Like they wouldn't name that.
Journalism does not work by putting hard news solely unless it's like political journalism that's like a source inside the White House that doesn't want to be identified. What I'm saying is, Warner Brothers never came out and said, we are very happy to welcome Alec Baldwin to the cast of The Joker. It was somebody inside Warner Brothers called the Deadline and said Alec Baldwin's in the movie, and then another source said he's playing Thomas Wayne, and then another source said the buzz is that he's Donald Trump, a Donald Trump-like character. So my theory is that Alec Baldwin was probably in talks to do this, was probably in negotiations or had been approached. And all of a sudden, he saw 500 stories on the internet saying he's in the Joker movie, he's playing Thomas Wayne, and it's going to be Donald Trump, because everybody took the pieces that were sourced from various sources inside Warner Brothers across different publications, and he was like, what? No, I'm not doing that. And I think that's why he's so upset.
Well, I think that's sort of similar to something we've talked about before with Warner Brothers sort of getting the ship in line, where you have like lots of different people as that merger happened and as everyone was sort of like trying to, find digging their spot within that studio. You have lots of people like, someone goes to Deadline, someone goes to Variety and says, it's this, no, it's this, also this, to sort of like get their point of view of the thing out there. And then we come out with Alec Baldwin as a Donald Trump Thomas Wayne in Batman.
Then those are all words that trend.
Those are definitely words that trend.
Someone put the cart before the horse.
So I think, well, it's interesting. What I did think was notable was that EW was saying that Warner Brothers had confirmed it, because, to my knowledge, they had not either. That said, I feel like it's almost this movie is like weird on so many levels, but one is just what it is, right? And the cast that it has, and kind of the premise and the pieces that we're hearing about it. That's one. Then two is Warner Brothers and DC in particular, which, as we've stated a bunch, has been kind of a mess over the last 2 years in terms of its messaging. It's not buttoned up the way that Disney is. It doesn't have these put together like very solid press releases where they're controlling the message and their team is on board and everybody knows what we're saying. It's been having all these leaks. Not to repeat it too much, but again, due to chaos internally, people were nervous about the AT&T buying them, and would they have their jobs? And then the films weren't performing in DC the way they wanted them to, and so everyone's vying to get their message out. It happened around Batman v Superman, where people were saying it's not good before it came out, or people had different opinions because they wanted their perspective to get out. That is getting conflated with a very normal process of making a movie that is just not this public. So many movies have been in development and don't get made. There's an entire documentary that our friend John Schnepp made about that in The Death of Superman Lives. Like, it happens, has happened all the time throughout the course of the industry. It's not weird.
Yeah.
We just don't usually hear it in piecemeal like that.
It's interesting to me now that, because normally like that's 80% of the IMDb trivia page for a movie, is that it's like, the following 36 actors were in talk to play this role.
Yes.
And they're all but individual bullet points, and there's just 36 of them. But now we like see that like IMDb trivia page like roll in real time.
Yeah.
It's weird.
And so then it looks chaotic, right? And then because you're right, because I'm sure a lot of this is happening as they develop behind the scenes at Disney, where things bubble up and they go away.
Right.
And Marvel looks at something and they even maybe have a script or a version, but you don't hear about it until they're ready. Until Feige's like, he'll say it's something we're thinking about until he's ready to say we're doing it.
He'll say, shut it down, and then all the guys from Dark City do the same thing, and the news
They've
comes
got to
out.
tighten the thing. I think they have to tighten it up,
because I think
that's what happened. I think that it's like a sieve. It's like things just come leaking out of that place, and I think that may be why Alec Baldwin was so angry. He's just like, no, like, why are you saying I'm doing this? I'm not doing this, and now I'm definitely not doing this, and forget it. Where and like studio sources is, I think, more like stories like the whole meeting with that they had with Alan Horn and the whole with the James Gunn thing. We're like, obviously no one in the studio is going to go on the record and say like, this meeting is happening and it's not going to, but that I think is where you probably need to use unsourced things as known, but like, to pick up the phone or to just report everything that comes out of the studio, I think, without official confirmation on things like casting, when things are so in flux, seems kind of odd to me.
And I do wonder how much of it is like, is it that you're buddies with someone and you're having a casual conversation and this comes out and you're like, I want to be the first one to report on this thing?
No. Not at all. Because the truth is, you're having a casual conversation. Okay, say I'm an executive. Let's just say that.
Of our hearts.
But I'm at a good studio. So I'm at Disney. I'm just kidding, Warner Brothers.
There's a ray gun to your head.
You never talk to anyone.
And you're a reporter that I've developed a rapport with, right? well, let's just say I'm Warner Brothers. I'm an executive at Warner Brothers, and you're an outlet that we have developed a rapport with over the years. And I know I can control the message with you. And I know that what I tell you is what you'll report. And I have a message I want out there. So I tell you that message. And it's very much with intent. And I very much want you to report that message. And it's either on the record or it's off the record, whether you name me or not. You're not going to name me because you want to keep getting the information that I have.
Right.
And you're not going to keep getting that information if you name me. So don't, Danielle.
At Roth who? Roth what? I don't know. What is a Roth?
So now you're delivering the message I want you to deliver. But Dan, who is my colleague at Warner Brothers, he has a different agenda. And he has a relationship with Joe.
Hey, buddy.
So he's talking to Joe, and he's giving him a different message. And Joe is wanting to get out there and get clicks because it's a crazy competitive go-go world in media where everyone's dying and on fire. Just kidding, we're great. And everyone wants to keep surviving. So you're going to deliver your message because you want to be the person that we can go to we want to keep going to your site for that. Joe's going to deliver his message because we want to keep going to Joe's site for that. All of that coalesces to chaos. And that's how the Joker wins. Okay, so I mean, but I will say that the Variety and THR and the trades reporting on casting, there is literally nothing new there at all. That's what they do. They always do that because they're also talking to their agents and they are also talking to all kinds of people in the industry. It's just nothing new is about it. The weird thing is how everything is happening at DC. That's what's crazy, and it has escalated, I think, over the last few years. But them reporting on casting without the studio reporting on it happens all the time.
Yeah, but if I were them,
just don't
how many
call it
times have they been burned by the studio? How many times have the trades run a story from Warner Brothers specifically in the last year that turns out to be not true or unconfirmed? Remember the whole Batman Ben Affleck thing was like, I have a source inside Warner Brothers that says Ben Affleck is done with Batman, and here we are a year plus later. That still hasn't been confirmed. I just feel like at some point, aren't they going to have to go to whoever their sources are and just be like, hey, listen, stop it? Because
I think only if there end up being consequences for them, because I don't there aren't at no point has anyone ever been like, hey, Deadline, like you've run some bullshit like a bunch, and we're not going to read your magazine anymore. No, it doesn't matter, because we all sort of keep doing the cycle. I agree with what you're saying, but I don't think until there's actual consequences for, hey, you ran some garbage. By
the way, everything I'm saying is me observing and speculating on what's happening in that studio. Richard, who we talked to about it, confirmed a little bit. Yeah, that's basically what's been happening. But that's also me just observing this and going, I feel like this is what's happening.
Sure. Right.
Because that the truth is that the trades are, and this is no offense because it's the purpose that they serve, they are the mouthpieces for the studios. That is what they do, largely what they do. And so that's where it's weird, because nothing is as aligned, I think, as it traditionally has been with the studios and the agents. But also his agent might have been pushing that agenda. His agent might have wanted Alec Baldwin to do that.
It's just weird because it seems like no one asked Alec Baldwin what his comment was on the story until he read the stories and was like, I'm not doing that. So it's just, I don't know. There are different kinds of journalism, I guess.
Well,
is what I'm
sure.
saying.
I mean, but entertainment, no offense to myself or any of us who do it, it's like, we're not.
Do not besmirch my hypothetical website that we came up today, the Joe's No Show, because people come to me for clicks. People trust Joe's No. The thing we're sleeping on is angry Alec Baldwin, which is one of my favorite genres of entertainment.
Yes.
Just angry, frustrated Alec Baldwin. I'm sure there's 25 guys that can play that as he eats his pancakes at a 5-star hotel.
He does have this temper, man.
Listen to me.
Listen to me.
I can go out on Hollywood Boulevard and throw a rock and hit someone who could play Thomas Wayne.
Yeah. You want to play Trump? Hey, kid, you play Thomas Wayne.
I've got 3 brothers that can do it tomorrow.
Danielle, this might just be for us.
Your son.
But I really want Warner Brothers to hit him back by casting James Adomian to play the Alec Baldwin Thomas Wayne.
That is just for us, but it's brilliant.
Yeah, that's what I really, really want. Google it.
I will. You know who I feel bad for? Not really, because this is a person with a really huge job and probably loads of money and lots of power, but Walter Hamada, who has come in to clean up over at DC Films. Like, they announced their streaming service. That all seems fine. Like, they seem on target. Like, that's not the thing we're talking about, but they seem to be pretty on target with that and like have their stuff together in terms of the streaming service team is probably like, look at those fools over in theatrical, but we got our stuff together. We're locked down. But Walter Hamada walked in, and this has been reported too from sources, that he said it was a shit show. And he walked in and he's like, okay, I have to clean this up. But if you think about how long of if you walk into something that is in disorder, that is in chaos, that has not been working, and think about how long things are in development, years. So you've got all these projects that have been in development for 3 years that you're probably trying to do this weird, like, this one we can fix. This one we have to let go. This one, let's see if we can develop it. This one, let's put on the shelf. Who knows what's happening with the Batman? Let's just put a button on that for a minute. We'll do the Joker thing. And in the middle of all that, you're also trying to figure out where these leaks are, who needs to get fired, who can get fired, who you can't fire because you actually need that person. It's going to take him a year or two, even if he is like a miracle worker, for publicly it to reflect the cleanup that he's been doing.
He killed Littlefinger, but there's still some probably problematic car starts in Winterfell that you got to clean up. That's not going to happen overnight.
Like, it's going to take him a minute, even in terms of the slate, what we're seeing, it's going to take a minute to get it cleaned up. We're with you, Walter Hamada and Warner Brothers.
Walter's an underrated first name, too.
He sure is.
Right? That's a good first name.
Let's talk about first names. Nope. Okay.
Jeremiah, that's a good one. That's a good first name.
I have no thoughts on first names.
Dan's face. Why does she ask me these things? MoviePass.
That I can talk about.
Okay, let's do that. More MoviePass. This is via Market Watch and Slash Film. So Market Watch, economist Carl J. Schramm.
What a name.
Speaking of names, resigned from the board of directors at Helios and Matheson Analytics, which is the parent company of MoviePass, because he said that, quote, management withheld material information from the board and made important corporate decisions without the board's knowledge or approval. He goes on to sort of describe the chaotic methods of them hiding things and saying that, quote, just last week, I learned that management withheld material information for several months. He didn't say what exactly that information was.
We're broke.
But we
we have no money.
That was the material information. And meanwhile, services like Cinemia.
I say Cinemia, but I don't know if there is an actual.
Oh, I'm
sure there is a correct pronunciation, but
why are we spelling things like this? Why is there a Q? What is happening?
That's a Star Wars name.
Yeah, that's a alien. Billy, do we know how to pronounce Cinemia? Since I keep saying it that way, Cinemia.
I think it's like the Demi Moore thing.
Sure.
It's just whatever.
Is there a
whatever
wrong way?
Vernacular is.
Really?
They like Demi.
That sounds like the greasy gangster that knows who Ray's parents are.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just gonna have to find.
Ooh, let's do Ray's parents later today. So this is via Slash Film. I feel like every character that's cast, we're like, it's probably her dad. Matt Smith, it's her dad. So Cinemia has announced a new $9.99 a month plan, so you can see 3 movies per month, 2D, but any theater. No blackout days, no surge prices, and you can select your seats and get your tickets ahead of time. So that's a pretty sweet deal, Dan. What do you think?
Yeah, I have Cinemia.
Cinemia.
And the reason that I signed up for it is because it covers the ArcLight here in Los Angeles, which is wonderful for people that live here because it is not the cheapest theater in the world. And they are very still working their way around their app. The app is a little tough. It's tough to navigate a little bit. It's a bit of a process, but at the same time, it's a great deal. So that's why I have it. And they're right. Yeah, I'm glad that they are sort of adapting to what they're doing. Everybody. I don't know when AMC decided to do A-list, but obviously they timed it perfectly in the sense that they introduced themselves as MoviePass is imploding in and on itself like a dying star. And I know that a lot of people have been calling for Regal.
Made it sound so sad.
Should we tell the board that we're broke?
I have no sympathy for them at this point. I know that I've seen a lot of people calling for Regal to start doing one. I wouldn't be shocked if the other theater chains started doing one right now. So MoviePass is looks like it's going to be the disruptor they wanted to be, but they will be the casualties of that. But they're the instruments of their own demise, because they're also hiding information. They're not just hiding information from subscribers. Like, they specifically contradict themselves. I remember when they did all their changes, they were like, annual subscribers, if you have the annual plan, you will not be affected. You will get the same deal. You get to go every day until your billing cycle. And like 2 weeks later, they're like, never mind. Annual subscribers, you're being retroactively added to the new plan, and you're definitely going to be affected. So they can't even get straight what they're telling their own subscribers. It's not shocking to me that they're.
Yeah.
There are multiple investigations, literally, and lawsuits happening right now, and I would not be shocked to find
I just can't wait into what's his name again? Dude's name? MoviePass president?
Mitch Lowe,
The king of Mitch Lowe.
CEO.
And Ted
I
Farnsworth.
promise you that he's gonna get some amazing job.
What's
I don't know, I'm just changing things up.
Going on at 1:30 at the last batch?
I just see him like I guarantee you he thinks he's like William Wallace, and he's just on the table yelling freedom, and then as the public like pulls out his intestines or whatever, and the next scene is Sinespia as Robert the Bruce with his sword. It's like, I promise you, like his LinkedIn is just going to say like hero, like for his next job. He's gonna be like, did you see what I changed the world? I did that for you, and yeah, he's a scam artist. But no one.
I can't wait for that episode of American Greed. Oh, it's gonna be so good.
I want Ryan Murphy to make this the next feud.
Yes.
MoviePass.
Between AMC and MoviePass.
Between AMC and MoviePass, that has to be his next. I would
watch the crap
I would buy
out
it
of
on
that.
Blu-ray. I would,
Yeah.
yes.
Or American Horror Story movie
I'll
theater.
kickstart it,
Yeah.
whatever it takes.
Ryan, we will advocate with all the powers that we have. They may be minimal, but you have it. What do you think, girl?
Well, I think that this new deal sounds good. I'm still.
I don't know. Your casual attitude has just infected me too.
It's just a very chill Thursday on SJU. But yeah, no, that deal seems really good. I'm really liking A-List.
The AMC, you have it?
Yeah, I have the AMC. I've been really digging that one. Mostly because like they have theaters with parking lots, and a lot of the theaters in LA are not so parking friendly.
Oh,
Which is kind of a pain. But yeah, so it almost reminds me of Cosmo.com, where something happened that was like, it was really good, but it was ahead of its time and it got ahead of itself. And now other bigger companies have figured out a way to, for those of you who don't know, during like the first tech boom, there was Cosmo.com, which was essentially Amazon, where they were like, we will deliver anything to you very, very cheaply, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and people got really into it. And it was like a mixture of like Amazon and Postmates and all these things. And it wound up imploding. And then later, Amazon, Postmates, everything can be brought to you, anything, alcohol, whatever. Where, everyone benefits except Cosmo.
Right.
Everyone benefits except MoviePass.
Mitch Lowe is a martyr.
Except for the one that created the model.
Except for the one that created the model.
You know, it'd be interesting. I'm sure this is out there
He's a damn
somewhere
hero.
to look at the history of that. Businesses that created a thing, but it couldn't sustain it initially because it was new, and then someone else came in and made it in a way that was sustainable. If there's a thing about that already, I'd be really curious.
Sean Parker, who's the guy who did the Napster.
Sean Parker,
Yeah,
you know,
MySpace.
Justin Timberlake.
He didn't create a business. He ruined a business.
He did, but he also made, because of the MP3s and MP3 sharing, once that went mainstream, suddenly that's how you get to Apple Music
The
and that's how
iTunes
you
store,
get to, you know.
I'd be curious, like the first fast food chain. Little did you know it was the little chicken.
Well, you can also, for that you can watch The Founder. Even
Well, I've seen The Founder.
That's like a little.
There's
bit,
also
That's a little
not
different.
exactly.
Have you ever seen-
what happened?
I've seen The Founder, but that's more like how he took over their existing business. But like what Danielle is saying, like CompuServe, which was like internet shopping before.
There's also Scotland, PA for fast food. Have you ever seen that?
No.
It's an adaptation of Macbeth about the beginnings of McDonald's.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very
Christopher
weird.
Walken's in it.
Yeah, Christopher Walken's in
It's
it.
crazy. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Oh, I'm watching that. Okay.
This is
that's on my
another.
list.
I didn't know it was a thing.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Billy. Yeah, did you like The Founder?
No, it was terrible. I hated
Okay.
Well, get ready because that's what the Vince McMahon movie's going to look like when it comes
it.
out.
I know but yeah, it's bad. But can I say my all-time favorite JTE movie thanks review is The Founder, where he derails himself 5 minutes in and starts talking about his favorite fast food orders. It's definitely worth seeking out. It's a 10-minute video. 8 minutes of it is his favorite fast food. Please go watch it.
All right, I'm watching that immediately. I have a whole list of things: Small Soldiers, JT's Founder review, and whatever this Macbeth thing
Scotland,
is.
PA.
Scotland,
Scotland,
PA.
PA.
It's a
Okay,
weird
thank
one.
you. Rock Watch 2018.
Rock Watch.
Sorry. So we actually, you guys, we
staring
got
into my
yelled at for
soul.
calling him The Rock. We're going to get into that. But first, we'll say the story. This is via Deadline. He is, there's a film package. Warner Brothers and New Line have won an auction for The King, which will star Dwayne The Rock Johnson as King Kamehameha, who united all of the islands in Hawaii. Robert Zemeckis is set to direct. It's being compared to Braveheart, and The King is based on a spec written by Braveheart screenwriter Randall Wallace. So this is interesting on a number of levels. Like, Zemeckis directing it is interesting to me, but also, we want to note this. We did get called out for calling Dwayne The Rock Johnson just The Rock instead of Dwayne. But you know what? As Billy pointed out this morning, sometimes The Rock just works better. Like,
Yeah.
The Rock is playing King Kamehameha. Dwayne is in The Tooth Fairy. So let's pull out a couple of his films
Sure.
and say, is this a Dwayne Johnson film or is this
Okay.
The Rock?
I like it.
Pain
Now,
and Gain.
like officially or like spiritually?
Spiritually.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah,
Spiritually.
that's more interesting.
Pain and Gain
Spiritually.
is
I just
The
wanted
Rock,
so no
yeah.
one's like,
Yeah.
well, actually, yeah.
Spiritually.
Yeah,
So
Pain and Gain is
Pain and Gain.
That is The Rock.
Oh, I was going to say Dwayne.
Interesting
Really?
twist.
I think he's going for a little more serious.
tough?
Yeah. I'm going to say that's a Dwayne movie.
But it is a Marky Mark movie.
Yeah, for sure.
So we have one The Rock, one Dwayne. Pain and Gain.
That's a Dwayne movie. I'll make
that's
that a Dwayne movie.
Jumanji. That's The Rock.
Totally The Rock.
That's The Rock.
He does
That's
the
The
people's
Rock.
eye. He does the eyebrow.
Yeah.
He does the that's The Rock.
The
Okay.
Rock.
Yeah.
Fast Five
Rock.
is The Rock.
That's The Rock. Ooh.
It's New Rock. It's New Rock. It's not. That's when he became Action Rock.
He's
more
in a battle
than-
with a pipe.
Yeah, that's that's The Rock. That's The Rock. Yeah, I agree.
Moana. That's
Dwayne.
Dwayne.
I'm going Dwayne.
That's
That's
Dwayne.
Dwayne.
He did something at the Oscars.
Yeah.
That is Dwayne.
That's
Yeah.
Dwayne.
Get Smart.
Rock.
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 I feel like that's Mr. Johnson who doesn't want, who's just hiding. Like, he's just like.
Behind it, Hathaway's
Can
hair.
you imagine that there was ever a time when you would hide The Rock's face?
Is there a middle ground where we can say that's a Dwayne The Rock Johnson movie?
Ooh.
I like
Would
that.
That is how he tried to sort of middle ground it.
He did.
What about Hercules? Is that the one?
Oh, that's a
That's a Dwayne. That's
I
a
feel like
Dwayne
that's a Dwayne.
Johnson.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a Dwayne.
That's a
Because
Dwayne.
it's just so it's very much like nod wink wink
Yeah.
kind of movie. For anyone who hasn't seen the Hercules, it isn't what you think it's going to be, and it's actually really good.
that's a Kevin Sorbo movie, is what that
This year, I think we've had both. I think
Okay.
that Rampage is a Rock movie.
Yes.
And I think that Skyscraper was a Dwayne movie.
I think you're right.
I think so.
Interesting.
I think that's what I think.
Do you think that whether it's a Rock movie or whether it's a Dwayne movie correlates to the success of the film?
Not
Do
necessarily.
you do the math on that? Is there a chart for that, Dan?
I'd have to chart it. We'd have to definitively decide which ones are which, and then I would have to chart what the Dwayne movies do and what the Rock movies do.
Rocking with Dan.
Yeah,
Let's
Rocking
do it.
with Dan.
Oh, we've got Rocking with Dan.
you-
We've got Chrising
Dan will
with
rock
Dan.
Yeah.
Do we feel like that's a worthy experiment for?
Well, I do feel like it's based on a subjective. I mean, charts are all about numbers, which are very objective, and I feel like determining whether a movie's a Dwayne or a Rock movie is a very subjective criterion, which then I think would throw the whole legitimacy of the chart into question.
fair. Should we poll? Should we do some polls?
we should
ask
probably
him?
do some polls.
I'm
we
excited
should
about
not
this
ask
movie,
Dwayne. We should not ask Dwayne. His opinion on the matter.
My favorite thing, because you're right, we had a fan who was just like, can you please not call Dwayne Johnson The Rock anymore? because but the tweet said this is not the WWF anymore, and the irony in that, and I kind of responded, it's like the WWF isn't the WWF anymore, nor has it been for 16 years.
Yeah, it's like
it was weird that like we sort of got called out in a weird way for calling The Rock something that he hasn't been called for a long time by citing the league, which has also not been called that name for a very, very long time.
Do you think
He'll call himself The Rock here and there. Yeah.
Oh, he does all the
handle is
time.
at The Rock.
Yeah, he'll
I think he's made peace.
Yeah, he has like apps that are like, motivational apps, or like an alarm clock that's like him being The Rock.
Now, Scorpion King is a Rocky Maivia movie.
Oh, that is a Rocky Maivia movie for sure. Oh, yikes. Look that up too, kids. Kamehameha, I think that's going to be Dwayne Johnson going to the Oscars wannabe movie.
You think so?
Yeah, I think that this is him. This is him being like, I want to start collecting them awards.
Okay. All right.
And I know that
believe
this
it.
isn't like an epic fantasy film, but I feel like a lot of people will throw on Braveheart in the same way that they'll throw on a Lord of the Rings, because they just want to see people hit each other with swords in like big epic battles. And I am so excited to see more movies like that aren't just set in Europe. Like,
people fight everywhere.
Yeah,
That's true.
People swing axes all over the place.
We're a very violent species.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Is it weird that I think that Fast 5 is a Rock movie, but I think that Fate of the Furious is a Dwayne movie?
No, that makes perfect
sense. He changes from Rock to Dwayne inter-franchise.
No, that tracks.
Inter-franchise.
That's just how good he is.
That's how good he is. Exactly.
Yeah. No, that definitely tracks. There's a lot more to talk about. We'll see if we can get Dan to chart it. I understand your integrity issues around that particular chart.
Yes.
But we'll see if we can make it happen. King Kamehameha, Rock at the Oscars. Would it be the popular category? Okay, I don't want to go there today. I don't want to go there today.
It's the Rockular category.
Exactly. That's the category that we need. It's the category that America wants. Hey, we have an interview. Chris Weitz, who you guys probably know, he co-wrote and produced American Pie. He and his brother created that franchise. He wrote on Rogue One. He wrote and directed About a Boy, which is such a great little movie. If you haven't seen it, it's so good.
Baby Nicholas Hoult.
Yeah. And the man needs some dollar bills, so he also did Twilight New Moon. No offense to Twilight fans out there. But he's great. He's had such an interesting career, and he has a film coming out now starring Ben Kingsley and Oscar. What happened? What I miss?
You said Twilight, and I just for some reason, instinctively just went,
there was a remnant from the... Like you wanted to release it from your...
Like you had Edward's venom in you?
Yeah, it's weird.
But he's amazing. He's just had such a fascinating, broad career in terms of what he's done. So he's this new movie coming out called Operation Finale that's starring Oscar Isaac and Ben Kingsley, and it is about the Mossad, right? And it's about the Mossad capture of Adolf Eichmann, who was the architect of the final solution in the Holocaust. So again, I just think he's had this very fascinating career. I talked to him about Operation Finale, but also his career. We'll be doing more on that soon, and sort of the idea of what it is to be a director, depending on what you are directing, that role changes. So we'll have more on that. But for now, please do take a look at him. I loved talking to him about this movie, Operation Finale. Movie fights today: Lon versus Spencer versus Joe. Woo!
Today, a little behind the curtain, we're all buried in just deadlines and stuff, and this one's gonna be interesting.
I'm so excited.
Stay tuned for all of that and the interview.
Get ready for no prep movie fights.
It's gonna be good.
I'm so excited.
Hey, Screen Junkies. I am so happy to be joined today by Chris Weitz, who you know from American Pie, About a Boy, which I absolutely love. So many other things, and the upcoming Operation Finale. This is the story of the capture of Adolf Eichmann in Argentina in 1960 by the Mossad.
I would happily put a bullet in between his eyes, but that's not what we're doing here.
Eichmann will stand trial here in Israel.
This is starring Ben Kingsley and Oscar Isaac. And I guess the first thing that I wanted to talk to you about is why you were drawn to it, and especially right now, because it resonates.
And why it's timely.
Yeah.
Well, so, my dad was a German Jewish refugee. He left in 1933 when Hitler came to power. And he eventually joined the U.S. Army and served in the OSS, which was counterintelligence, like a precursor to the CIA. And his area of expertise was the Nazi Party. and he eventually wrote books about prominent Nazi officials. So I grew up helping him with these books, kind of organizing his library and copyrighting his books. So I grew up immersed in all this stuff. So it was kind of second nature to me. To go back to your question about the kind of timeliness of it, it was upsetting to see what was happening in Charlottesville and what's been happening in Europe while shooting this movie, and to sort of focus again on the fact that this stuff doesn't really go away.
It was still sort of shocking to me and to my system that Nazis are somehow still revered today. That I just am having trouble conceptualizing how that can be.
Yeah, well, I find it very difficult to see not difficult, I find it very weird to see the swastika flown, to see the Nazi iconography employed. There's something that you have to recognize about Nazi iconography and their flair for theater that appealed to people's basest instincts. But I think that those instincts are in all of us, to commit violence upon the people who we dislike. We see this in both right and left, this tendency to want to demonize the other.
Is it true you called the camps liquidation machines? To make us seem like animals.
We're all animals.
Yeah, I mean, that was, I think, the Nazis in terms of the propaganda arm, right? That was the quote brilliance of it, part of what was so successful for them.
Well, they were really good at what would have been the kind of social networking of their time. They utilized film really well. They utilized radio really well. They subsidized radio sets to be given to as many people as possible so they could get their message out. They were clever at mixing up entertainment and propaganda, and they were masters of the kind of thing that we see being deployed in politics nowadays.
Eichmann, one of the really interesting and fascinating details in the film, it's almost as if he has OCD. And that is part of how he was able to do what he did.
Right.
But that very character trait is used against him by the Mossad to get him to, in effect, confess.
The man in this picture is you. SS number 45381. Am I correct? Again, your number was 45381. Your number was 45381. 45381. 45381.
It was 45326.
Something interesting about Eichmann is that underneath it all, although he was hiding, although he had changed his name, he was still proud in his own way, and he still wanted to retrieve that sense of identity he had being a Nazi official. Oscar Isaac's character, Peter Malkin, took the decision to elicit what he needed from Eichmann by treating him like a human being rather than what I'm sure anybody would much rather do, which is either to kill them or to beat them, and opened himself up to this guy in order to get what he needed from him.
Whom did we take from you, Peter? Whom did you lose?
We lost 6 million.
I'm asking about you.
How much of that is drawn just purely on imagination, and how much of anything between their interactions is historical?
A lot of it is based upon Peter Malkin's account of the time that he was in the safe house. There's a bit at the end which gets very dramatic, and that isn't reported by Malkin, but that is an incident that Eichmann recorded in a couple of interviews that he did with an ex-Nazi journalist called Willem Sassen.
Yeah.
So it's all real.
I thank you so much for joining us today. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do next in the theaters, on Netflix,
Appreciate
wherever the things go anymore.
it.